Yo, welcome on into our Big 12 football power rankings as we get you set for the final week of the regular season. Can you believe it? The regular season has come and gone. Here we are talking about week 13 because a week from this Saturday is the Big 12 championship game. My goodness. I know it's cliche, but I feel like the season really does always fly by. I'm Pete Mundo, owner of HeartlandCollegeSports.com. Great to have you guys here as always. So let's start off 10 through 1 as we do with our Big 12 football power rankings each and every week. At number 10 this week in the power rankings, I feel like they get a little more maybe predictable by the week, but how do you not have Iowa State at number 10? 6 losses. 6 of their 7 losses by 1 score or less. This season was expected to be a bit of a reset for Iowa State. I didn't see 1-7 coming in the Big 12. I think the over-under on win totals was 7.5 for Iowa State. Obviously, they're not going to come close to that number. With how these games have gone down, there's 2 ways to look at the Iowa State season. Number 1 is that you can look at the Iowa State football season and say, wow, look at all the guys that lost to the NFL. Boy, when they come back next year and they're better and they're a year older, the sky's the limit. The other way for Iowa State fans to look at it is to say, wow, if only we had some kind of offense. If only we had a semblance of an offense to work with, this team probably wins 8 games. Which side of the coin do you want to be on if you're an Iowa State fan? That's the question right now. And it's a very legitimate question to ask yourself. Now, Matt Campbell's not going anywhere, nor should he. It's ridiculous. I've heard that a little bit from Iowa State fans. Total ignorance there. That Matt Campbell's ever going to go anywhere or should go anywhere. He should not. You want to have a serious conversation about offensive coordinator Tom Manning? We can have that. Frankly, that conversation should be had. It doesn't mean Tom Manning's not the guy. But with the way the offense played this year, you'd be foolish to not have the conversation. I mean, you look at the Iowa State offensive numbers. They are abysmal. Iowa State's averaging 16.6 points per game in conference play. That's 10 points less than anybody else. It's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. Iowa State is 10 this week in the power rankings. Next up, number 9, West Virginia. They fall down a spot after a no-show against Kansas State on Saturday. Garrett Green was kept in check. He had just 17 rushing yards after 119 rushing yards against Oklahoma the week prior. So that didn't go as planned. And the defense could not slow down the Wildcats. The question now for West Virginia is when and how does all this end for Neil Brown? That's it. I don't know if the team kind of just quit this past week after Shane Lyons, the AD, got fired and they saw the writing on the wall. I don't know. But it is hard to look at this West Virginia team right now and figure out why Neil Brown deserves another year or how he gets another year unless they simply just don't want to pay the buyout. If West Virginia doesn't want to pay the buyout, then maybe you got a different conversation on your hands. That's all I can think of. That's the only thing that makes an ounce of sense because nothing else would. There's no other reason to keep Neil Brown around Morgantown. None whatsoever. So we'll see what they end up doing, but West Virginia is number 9 this week. At number 8 in the Big 12 football power rankings, week 13, the Kansas Jayhawks. They keep sliding down. They've lost 5 of 6, and that Saturday performance against Texas, 55-14 loss. Arguably the worst performance of not just this year for Kansas, that's obvious, but possibly Lance Leipold's 2 years because of how flat they came out. You know, and Jalen Daniels does not look 100%. I'm not sure if he's the guy I'd be playing on Saturday at quarterback against K-State, to be totally honest. I mean, KU didn't lose 4 of 5 coming into this game because of Jason Bean. They lost it because of the defense. So they looked flat. They gave up over 400 rushing yards to Texas. 400 rushing yards. You got to try to give up 400 rushing yards. My goodness. That's horrible. So they're going to a bowl game. This has been an amazing season. I'm not taking anything away from KU by any stretch of the imagination. But you lost 5 of 6. You know what? When you start winning, the expectations go up. and that's the way it goes sometimes. So now people are expecting you got to at least compete. You can't lose 55-14. Number 7 in the power rankings, another team that is moving in the wrong direction. That is Oklahoma State. Yeesh. The Pokes have really hit the skids. Mike Gundy's now 3-15 in Bedlam. It's just brutal. It feels mental as much as anything else. Two things can be true. One, you can be grateful for Mike Gundy's accomplishments at Oklahoma State. Nobody else has ever done what he has done or come close to it. But you can also say, boy, what is going on? Why is this game such a mental roadblock for Mike Gundy? I don't have the answer. I do not have the answer. I just know it's real, and it was on full display again on Saturday in that game. I mean, when they punted late, I'm like, what is he doing? You're down 2 scores. He's punting with like 2.5 minutes left, down 2 scores. Number 6 in the power rankings, Oklahoma. Sooners are having a down season, but there are 3 things that can be guaranteed for OU fans: death, taxes, and beating Mike Gundy. It was an ugly game, but they got the win. It's fair to wonder and critique the last 3 quarters of offense for the Sooners. There's no doubt about it, but you take the victory. OU is now bowl eligible. That's big for Brent Venables' first year. And you try to wrap up this season with a good win over Texas Tech and Lubbock, which they absolutely can do on Saturday. OU is number 6 in the power rankings this week. Next up in the power rankings, at number 5, I've got the Baylor Bears. Now, Baylor almost got it done. Baylor moved up from 6th last week despite losing their game. They almost beat 10-0 TCU. And Baylor in the last 10 years, this was the 3rd attempt that they were trying to take down a 10-0 team. They beat K-State in 2012, and I remember where I was for that game. You know, I was working down in Woodward, Oklahoma at the time. K101 and Z92 radio. And my then fiance, now wife, and I came up to Kansas City for a Bruce Springsteen concert. So we're in Kansas City, where we currently live now, which is weird. Life comes full circle sometimes. And we end up going to Power and Light District. If you've been downtown Kansas City, it's right there. And downtown Kansas City, the Power and Light District was bumping because they had the K-State Baylor game on the projector screen. That was Robert Griffin III. And Baylor came out, lit up K-State, and ended the perfect season at 10-0. And then 2015, Baylor beat 10-0 Oklahoma State. So Baylor almost pulled off the trifecta on Saturday, but Max Duggan, Sonny Dykes, and the Horned Frogs had other plans in that game. And, of course, they end up coming back to win 29-28. But I'm moving Baylor up a slot from 6 to 5 for their performance, even, yes, in a loss on Saturday. Number 4 in the power rankings, Big 12 power rankings for the week. Texas Tech, they stay steady at number 4. You know, I got to give Texas Tech this. Anytime in the last 15 years, if you told me Tech's going on the road, night game, Ames, Iowa, single digits against the best defense in the Big 12, do I have any confidence they're getting out of there with a win? No, I don't. I've got none. No confidence they're getting a win. No way, no how. Joey McGuire is building this team differently. Joey McGuire is building this team. It's not going to be your father's Texas Tech Red Raiders. I'm not saying they're not going to be high-flying on offense. We see them go for 4th down every other time, it feels like. But the defensive side of the ball has been the stronger side of the ball for Texas Tech this season, the more consistent side of the ball for Texas Tech this season. So I'm looking at the Red Raiders. They get a 14-10 win in Ames where it's 5 degrees on Saturday night. I'm damn impressed. So Texas Tech stays at number 4 for me this week. At number 3, I've got the Texas Longhorns. So Texas absolutely steamrolled Kansas on Saturday, and I wasn't convinced that they were going to show up. I thought Texas was going to say, oh, we played like garbage against TCU at home. Woe is us. We're not in the driver's seat for a Big 12 championship game appearance anymore. We're going to roll over, and Kansas might pull off the upset. Well, it was anything but that. They led, 31-0 at halftime. They embarrassed Kansas on Senior Day in Lawrence, and they got some revenge from last year as well. Don't forget it was KU who beat Texas last year in Austin. So, I will give Steve Sarkisian this. These guys have not quit on him. Now, they need some help to make a Big 12 title. They have to beat Baylor on Friday, and then they need K-State to lose to Kansas on Saturday, so they need some help from the Jayhawks, who they just crushed. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what they need. And don't forget this. Tom Herman got to a Big 12 title game in his second year. Didn't last much longer for him, but he got there in year 2. At number 2 in the power rankings, K-State, playing arguably the best football in the Big 12 right now. Now, TCU fans are going to scoff at that, but they shouldn't. The Wildcats have dominated their competition as of late. Oklahoma State, Baylor, West Virginia. Yes, they lost to TCU in Texas, but it is fair to wonder if K-State's season would have gone differently had they started Will Howard in each of those 2 games against TCU in Texas. He has been the difference, opening up this offense in a way that nobody else, certainly not Adrian Martinez, has been able to do. And I never saw this coming from Will Howard from last year to this year. Never saw it coming. Number 1 in those Big 12 football power rankings, well, you know who. The TCU Horned Frogs, baby. TCU feels like it's got that magic. It feels like it's got that magic in the palm of its hand, coming back to win that game the way they did. Down 28-20, couple of drives to go. And what do? They score a touchdown. They miss the 2-point conversion. They force another 3-and-out against Baylor. They drive down the field, and they're running on the field to kick that game-winning field goal. And bing, bang, boom, 29-28, 11-0. Perfect season is alive for TCU. How about that? I mean, it feels like they've got that magic touch. They got to beat Iowa State at home this weekend. It's dicey just because Iowa State literally has nothing to play for. This is their bowl game to spoil TCU's perfect season. This is everything for Iowa State. TCU, because every time you win that game as an undefeated, you get a little tighter, see how things go. And then they're going to probably play K-State if K-State beats KU. And I would want no part of Kansas State right now. No part of Kansas State. I'll tell you that. So those are the Big 12 football power rankings, 10-1. Iowa State at 10, West Virginia 9, KU at 8, Oklahoma State at 7, Oklahoma at 6, Baylor at 5, Texas Tech at 4, Texas at 3, K-State at 2, and TCU at 1. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Facebook Live, share away. Always appreciate you guys doing that.